Just when Canadians thought justice had been served, in terms of the invocation of the Emergencies Act during the Freedom Convoy, they won 2 appeals with the government that deemed the use of the Emergencies Act as unreasonable, unconstitutional, and a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Should have been a done deal, right? No. Because Mark Carney and the Liberal government have announced that they will take it for a 3rd appeal. But this time, they're taking it to the Supreme Court. And people are confused. I'm seeing all sorts of videos going, why? Why would they spend good money after bad? They're wasting taxpayer dollars. Well, I want you to think about something. Because this was the idea all along. Yes, it was. Now, if you've been with me for years, back to the Freedom Convoy days, I did 5 consecutive videos leading up to the convoy, okay? Even as the trucks were crossing the country, warning participants that they were going to invoke the Emergencies Act. It was part of the play. It was a definitive goal of the government to do so. Did the Freedom Convoy deserve it? No. But that's hide nor hair. You see, right now, we are in the days of Agenda 2030 implementation, and everything begins and ends with that commitment to the United Nations. Let's go back and get a little history here, because it was the War Measures Act that was introduced in 1914 as the First World War began. And the powers of that act were quite far-reaching. So by 1988, they came up with the Emergencies Act. And that diminished the powers of the government during an emergency. But it also refined their powers quite a bit. And I believe the idea of these continued appeals is actually to expand its power. And people are going, well, how could they do that? That's impossible. That's a violation of our rights and freedoms. Well, let me read to you what I wrote on Agenda 2030 Decoded today. In order to widen the scope of the use of the Emergencies Act, it's imperative to keep it within the appeal process. This keeps the issue judicial, avoiding costly public debate or reforms that might restrict future use amid evolving threats like protests and unrest. Well, you have to know that with the implementation of Agenda 2030, which has been the source of all carnage, there will be more unrest. They don't want to lose any ground with the Emergencies Act, and as I've said, they want to expand its use. Now, this also aligns with Sustainable Development Goal number 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions. And how do you have peace, justice, and strong institutions? Well, you need totalitarian powers. This is exactly what's going on. The courts, they are a buffer, because as long as they keep it in, they can't touch that act. That's the idea. Remember, everything begins and ends with UN Agenda 2030 and absolute control.